What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 18th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition. It's a little bit extra special in our house today. It is my daughter's 8th birthday, so happy birthday, Ella. Remember, 8 years ago, it was one of those rare times where you woke up. It was a scheduled C-section, so woke up in the morning knowing your life was going to be completely different when you went to bed. Most of those times, things catch you out of nowhere. But happy birthday to Ella. I love you. Happy 8th birthday. She's still sleeping. She's going to be disappointed that she can't appear on the podcast today for her birthday. But stay tuned for a special guest appearance at some point soon from Ella. All right. Let's do a couple quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and spread the word. Continue to grow this thing. I've been saying it for a couple weeks now, but if you're enjoying this, likely somebody else you know will. So let's just spread the word and continue to grow this thing. We're slowly getting there. It's been a slow burn, a gradual burn, but we will get to where we want to be. So thank you again for all your support. If you need information on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, be sure to check out the link in the description. Ticket information on this year's inductee class. I will be starting to preview that next week. Have a meeting today. Excited about that. So hopefully very soon we'll be able to announce a couple projects I've been working on. But any information you need on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame is in the description. All right, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, is this the best team that Joe's had around him, top to bottom, since he's been here? Surprisingly, it was only 50-50. And I'm not sure the folks that said no, nobody really gave much of a reason why. I think this is make him out of the second round or bust this year for Joe and the Sixers. By far, best team he's had around him. There was a lot of comments about people being done with the Sixers. And to be honest, I mean, I get it. I get it. It's the same thing every year with them. I talk all the time about Lucy and the football, and with me, it's a irrational love for the Sixers for some reason that I let them in every time. I always do the comparison. Phillies were my first love. Eagles are my true love. The Sixers are like the crazy ex-girlfriend who I fall for her BS every time. But it got me wondering, and this is not going to be the question of the day, but something if you want to comment on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Why is it that the Sixers don't get a pass? Everybody's tough on the Sixers. Everybody's tough on Joe, and can't get out of the second round, can't do this. Yet I saw it somewhat with the Phillies, but with the Eagles get a pass every time. And I just don't get why the Sixers are held to a different standard than the other teams in this city. Obviously, Eagles have made it to or won a Super Bowl within the past, 7 years or so. But what's the statute of limitation on that? We're back to the same old Eagles and just not living up to expectations. So can somebody explain to me why the Sixers are held to a different standard than the other teams? I just don't get it. But final preseason game for them tonight. Then they open up the season on Wednesday at home against Milwaukee. No updates or word on Joe and PG, how they're doing. But let's continue our Sixers preview, starting with that starting five. And it looks like the starting five, when everybody's playing and when everybody's healthy, is going to be Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid. And I like that starting lineup a lot. I think they all complement each other. I think their games mesh well. It's not a situation where you had Ben Simmons, who every year was going to shoot and didn't. I think all of this kind of meshes well with Joe's game, who say what you want, bring in who you want. This is Joe's team, and everything's going to run through him. But I think the pieces they have are complementary. I think these pieces fit Nick Nurse's system and style that he wants to play. I mean, a lot of questions and Obviously, health is always going to be the question with this team in the starting lineup. Can they stay healthy? I would love to. The biggest question I have is what's next for Tyrese Maxey? Can he elevate his game? And I think he has to. I think he has to be the constant, the consistent guy in that lineup. And we saw last year was really his first year to be the man with James Harden getting traded. But he made an all-star game. He got rewarded with the contract. I think he's one of the top probably 20 players. Maybe you can make the argument top 15 players in the league. I think he needs to play like that. I think he needs to start getting just being more consistent. We saw it in the playoffs last year, late in the game, hitting big shots. That's what he needs to do. He needs to be able to, if Joe's having a bad game, be able to step up. Or if Joe's going to be out, step up. I think having Paul George there is going to help with that. But I need him to be sniffing a top 12 player in the league, certainly top 15 this year. And I think he'll do it. I think he has the work ethic. And I think what we saw in the playoffs last year certainly put him on a different plane. He needs to be able to, you might have a bad game for the first 3 quarters, but fourth quarter, you need to be able to turn it on. And you can't let that get into your head. He will be there. I love Oubre. I talked a little bit about him yesterday. He's the quintessential Philly guy, and I can't put my finger on it, but if I say that, you guys know he's a Philly guy. But he's going to do those versatile things. He can play some defense, can make some shots. He's not afraid to get in and get dirty and grimy. And he does those like non-stat sheet things that you need, the hustle plays. And I think he has the perfect mindset. Reminds me of a lot of like a George Lynch or a Tyrone Hill type player on this team. Not saying that this team is going to go to the finals yet, but if they were to make a run, it's a guy like Kelly Oubre who's going to have to be that guy. Paul George, I think this was a great move. I know I was against it, but in seeing and really watching highlights and knowing where he is in his career, I think this is the perfect complement to Joe. I think Paul George 5 years ago, maybe not. But I think where he is with his age and in his career, he's not going to have to be the guy. But there's going to be times where he's going to have to hit a big shot or make a play. And I think he's got the experience and the veteran leadership to be able to do that. And I think it's a perfect situation. And I just like I said, the way that this meshes well. Sometimes he's going to defer, and he's already talked about that. Sometimes if he needs to step up, he will. And I think the more guys that you have that are able, I just said with Maxey in the playoffs last year, he hit that big shot. We've seen Joe hit big shots. You got Paul George, who has hit big shots in his career. So coming down the stretch in close games, I think that's going to help out because teams can't say, all right, this is going to Joe. Now you have to worry about Maxey, and that's part of the reason why Maxey was able to hit that shot is because I don't think the Knicks were expecting him to take it or at least even shoot it. So having 3 guys now that can sort of be the closer, as they like to say in the NBA, it's a good thing to have. I think Caleb Martin's going to bring a lot of those same things like Kelly Oubre, the things you don't see on the stat sheet. He's going to play good defense, grab some rebounds. He's proven that he can score. He's a much better scorer in the playoffs when things get tougher. So I think that might be the most underrated pickup or underrated move that the Sixers did this offseason. So I like that. And then ultimately, Joe. I mean, Joe's going to be Joe when he plays. I think he's coming in with the mindset, I don't need to win the MVP. I don't need to win scoring titles. I just need to win championships. And before we can even talk about this team winning a championship, obviously you got to get out of the first round. But he's got to play smart. He's got to stay healthy. It's easier said than done with him because say what you want about him, he's the guy that he's putting it all out there on the line. Sometimes sometimes to the detriment of the team because of his long-term health. But He's got to stay healthy. That's the key to him. We know what he brings to the table. And as I mentioned, all of these guys complement each other well. And we'll get more into coaching later in the weekend. But Nick Nurse, I think he is not like Doc Rivers in the fact that I think he will adapt his style to fit the guys he has. And I'm sure he had some sort of say and role in who they brought in. So from a starting lineup perspective, if they're healthy, I think they're one of the top 3 starting lineups in the league. I mean, you got Boston, or at least in the East, you got Boston, the Knicks, and the Sixers. And I'm not sold on Karl Anthony Towns going to the Knicks. I don't know if it made them better. I know I might be in the minority there, but so I think that Sixers have a top 3 starting lineup. Key there is if everyone is healthy, and that's going to be a question throughout the entire season in the playoffs. And we've seen it with Joe that injuries and wear and tear on his body, it happens every year. So it comes down to managing that, which is another thing we'll get into later this weekend. But from a starting lineup perspective, I'm all in on this team. And that leads to today's question of the day. And it ties in a lot with what some of the comments were yesterday about this team. Are you in or are you out on the Sixers this year? 267-495-8531 gets you in. Obviously, I have, like I said, that irrational belief, love for the Sixers. But are you in or are you out? Let me know and give me a reason why. Give me your rationale for whether you're in or you're out. 267-495-8531 gets you in. Are you in or you're out on the Sixers? I am all in. 10-9-8 76ers. Here we go. Can't wait to miss that football, though, later in the season. All right. Eagles injury news. Some concerning injury news. Sorry. Stuff's falling off my desk because of this injury news. Jalen Carter missed practice yesterday with a shoulder injury. We'll hopefully find out more today. My thought process is it's more of a precautionary thing to make sure he's fine, but that would be a huge loss going in. Slade did not practice. I think that might be a veteran precautionary thing too. He's likely going to be a game time decision. But other than that, no real major surprises. We know we're going to be without Dallas. We know we're going to be without Jordan. So you got that. But I'm nervous about this game. I really, really am. And I know people are split 50-50. I would love to see them build on what they did last week. Yes, it was the Browns, but it might have been – you take away the fluky blocked field goal for a touchdown, and I think we're having a different conversation. I think we're still concerned that the offense only scored 20 points or whatever it was. But I think the conversation's different, and that was a fluky play. And, yeah, there's some things you can pick apart, but I want to see them build on it. It'd be nice. I feel like this team is teetering right now. I can go one way or the other, and we talked a lot last year about the snowball. Once things got going, they weren't able to get out of that tailspin, and I think this is one of those – it's like a keystone game here. If they win, I could certainly see them going on a roll and really starting to get confidence. This is obviously a step up from the Browns. And I will say, I'm kind of sick of all the people saying, oh, it's the last place team in the division. Well, guess what? They're not playing that bad, and it's not like the Eagles are playing that well to be like, oh, we're playing the last place team in the division. The Eagles are very, very fortunate to be 3-2. But I would love to see them get a winning streak here. They have not won 2 games since November of last year when they beat KC and Buffalo back-to-back. That's almost a full calendar year since they've won 2 in a row. I would love to see them getting that going. But I'm nervous, and we'll start breaking it down more tomorrow. And then we'll give the 3 keys and the prediction on Sunday. I got to be honest, right now, I still don't know which way I'm going with this prediction because I've seen too many crazy things in an Eagles-Giants rivalry. I've seen the Eagles back when I was growing up. It seems like the Giants were winning Super Bowls, but we beat them every year. I've seen the Eagles win on Clyde Simmons returning. The Eagles were going for a field goal. It got blocked. Clyde Simmons picked it up and returned it for a touchdown. I've seen games at the Link when I was walking out. The Eagles up 24-7 in the fourth quarter, trying to get a beat on traffic, going to the bar to have a couple drinks. And by the time we walked down the ramp from our seats, Eli Manning, Plaxico Burress, and Armani Toomer, all of a sudden that game went into overtime and Plaxico Burress got the game winner. So Brian Westbrook's punt return, like the miracle of the Meadowlands, 1, 2, 3, whichever one you want to say. So I've seen too many crazy things in this game to not be nervous, especially when the team is teetering right now on the brink of, they're going on a run. It's just a matter if it's going to be a winning streak or a losing streak. Like, I'm convinced of that, and this is going to go a long way, I feel, in getting us there. So I'll start breaking down matchups and things like that so I can get a read on this. But I'm nervous. And if you want, let me know the Sixers thing. But are you nervous about this game? What are your feelings on a Thursday right now, or Friday, about this game? I'm nervous. I'm sure we'll start hearing some trade rumors too as the trade deadline's approaching. I don't know. I would, if this team, a lot's going to be determined on what I want and how I feel about the trade deadline, depending on what happens with this game. So to even go into some of the rumors and names, obviously pass rusher, tight end wouldn't be a bad idea. So we'll have an update on some injuries, maybe some of the trade rumors, but how are we feeling about this? Because I am nervous, very, very nervous, and maybe that's a good thing. The other game I was nervous about was the Saints, and they won that. I was nervous about the Packers, and they won that. The games I was confident on are the games that they didn't win. So maybe that's a good sign. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. I'm about halfway through the football episode right now. Good stuff over there, especially on an Eagles-Giants week. And then baseball comes out today, so check that out. That's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And then go to Philly Goat. Do some early Christmas shopping, buy some birthday presents, whatever you need to do. Philly Goat's got you covered. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order, but phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Flyers lost in Seattle last night 6-4. Gave up 4 goals in the second period. Michkov with another assist. Did take a big hit, but I didn't see anything or anywhere that he was injured. So might be a good welcome to the NHL rookie moment, and he'll be ready to go. They are back home tomorrow against Vancouver. Looking forward to watching it and seeing the Michkov Mania live and, well, not in person, but live and not on replay. Fedotov did not look in goal, so if there was any type of competition going on, I would have to say Sam Ersson has a major, major advantage right now. But opening up on a West Coast trip is tough. And I was listening to WIP, and there's a guy, didn't catch the beginning of it, who does scheduling for the sports. And apparently the Flyers, it was almost like a request for them to go out west to start the season in anticipation of the Phillies being in the postseason. But I guess the Phillies sort of ruined that. But Flyers home opener tomorrow. All right, today, speaking of the Flyers, we are going to go back to 1967. And on this day in 1967, the Flyers beat the St. Louis Blues 2-1. Lou Angotti and Ed Hoekstra scored the Flyers goals that day, and this was an important win for the Flyers as it was their first in franchise history. As we all know, in 1967, the NHL expanded. They doubled the amount of teams. It was the original 6. So the Flyers, LA Kings, Minnesota North Stars, the Oakland Seals, who are now a defunct team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the St. Louis Blues became the next 6. They threw them all in the Western Division. I know, didn't make any sense then, still doesn't make any sense now. But Flyers open with 3 straight road games before coming home. We'll talk more about coming home tomorrow. They would go on to win the Western Division before finally bowing out to the St. Louis Blues in the playoffs. This was pre-Broad Street Bullies. This is when they were still trying to find their identity. But on this day, in 1967, the Philadelphia Flyers won their first ever NHL game, a 2-1 win out in St. Louis over the Blues. opened with 3 road games on their way to a NHL West Division championship, but then lost in the first round to the aforementioned St. Louis Blues. Looking forward to that Flyers game tomorrow, though. I cannot wait. I've been dying to see Michkov since they drafted him. I'm all in on the Michkov Mania. All I can picture is like an orange shirt with black writing that says Michkov Mania on it, and then maybe I'll have a couple beers and just rip it off. And what you gonna do? Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Are you in or out on the Sixers? I certainly am in. But if you're out, let me know why. Why are you out on the Sixers? And why do they get a pass when the Eagles, who disappoint us probably more than anybody, get a pass? So let me know. And I get that the NHL or the NFL and NBA are different, but why do the Sixers not get the pass and the same benefit of the doubt that the other teams seem to get? Somebody explain it to me. Make it make sense. Call the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Let me know that. Are you nervous about the Eagles game? And what are your feelings about this Sixers starting lineup? Let's go. All right, kind of a quiet night in Philly sports, which is good, but gearing up for the big Michkov home debut tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Happy birthday to my daughter, Ella. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 18th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.